what's going on YouTube? It is Repulse back another video. In today's video, we have another Chelsea news video. This is only like 3 or 4 hours removed from the last one, but oh my word. I mean, there was so much that kicked off in 4 hours, I don't even know how to explain it to you. I think there's like 25 things I have to cover in the span of 4 hours, which means, there was at least like 7 an hour, 6 an hour, pretty much. Yeah, just insane the amount of news that just came out. Majority particularly on one player. I think we all know who it is, Xavi Simons. But there's stuff on Garnacho, there's stuff on Jackson, there's stuff on Veiga, there's stuff on outgoings. So yeah, there's actually so much to talk about. So yeah, get ready for a long Chelsea news video. It's gonna be entertaining. There's a lot to cover, so let's just jump straight in. Starting with Alejandro Garnacho. The Telegraph says that Garnacho suitors believe he could be available for around £40 million. Chelsea, Spurs, and Aston Villa are monitoring. So there is a new team monitoring his situation in Tottenham Hotspur, obviously, right there in Spurs. Villa and us, have been interested for a while. If he's available for around £40 million, I wouldn't be too against that, especially if Nicholas Jackson's able to go the other way, which we will talk about in this video, actually. But yeah, I think, I said this in the last video, I am very pessimistic about Garnacho. I think he brings a lot of baggage. I don't like his personality. Not my favorite player to watch, but I do think he could thrive in a Maresca system where he's playing as an out-and-out winger on that left-hand side, cutting in and shooting. But I do think Gittins is better at that, so I think he'd be depth. So definitely not someone I'd be intrigued in bringing in, but if it's only £40 million, I don't think it'd be the end of the world. I think, he could really exceed that value if he has a couple of good seasons, and we could always sell him on. We could do a lot of different things with Garnacho. I think, it's not the worst link I've ever seen. He's not the best player. I'm not really excited if we're ever going to bring him in. But for £40 million, if you want him as depth, you could really realistically do that, and I don't think I'd be too mad at that. If you want him to play backup left winger, want him to play backup right winger, yeah, I think that could be, a depth signing, but I wouldn't spend that much on a depth piece, in my opinion, and I also wouldn't want to spend that much money on someone that brings a ton of baggage to be a depth piece, because we know Gittins is most likely to start on that left wing, or a potentially new signing, which we're talking about later in this video, in Xavi Simons is also, a potential left winger for us, although he could play the 10, he could play the false 9. As kind of a shadow striker, you need another, like a João Pedro there too. Obviously not as good of a number 9 as João Pedro, but I'm saying he has the versatility of a João Pedro. But, like a Cole Palmer who can kind of play that false 9, you need him in the lineup to play with Xavi Simons, as Xavi Simons is playing false 9. Garnacho is just an out-and-out winger, so you could always see us go in for him if we think that we need another true winger profile, because we only have Neto and Gittins right now. Obviously, let go of Madueke, have Tyree George, but we expect him to go out on loan. Esteval can be a winger for us, but we know that he might want to play at the number 10 spot, and then we also have João Pedro who can play the wing, but he's most likely going to play 9, so I can understand the Garnacho links. I'm not, too happy about it, but, I've definitely had a little bit of a relevation compared to where I was the last couple of days saying the unnamed player. I can at least acknowledge his name now, but this is why it's actually intriguing. I caught this pretty quickly. The name of Nicholas Jackson is really tempting to Manchester United, and they could offer Chelsea Alejandro Garnacho in a swap deal. Internal talks ongoing to decide what they want to do, Fabrizio Romano says on DAZN. So yeah, this is intriguing. Obviously, Manchester United have explored the possibility of obtaining Nicholas Jackson. We value him at around 80 million to 100 million, and then Alejandro Garnacho, as we said in the last slides, around 40 million. So if Man United send us like 90 and we send them 40, I'd be happy with that. It's 50 million profit. We get a player that can be a depth piece for us. Man United get their striker, and it looks good on the books for them, because actually you can amortize that deal. You can sign Nicholas Jackson to a very long contract, which would spread out the cash flow, and then you get the pure profit of Alejandro Garnacho in that deal, which would be around 40 million. So there's definitely a possibility of a swap deal happening. Again, Nicholas Jackson, I wouldn't be mad if he goes. I wouldn't be mad if he stays. I think he'd play a part in the team if he does stay. But I do kind of expect him to go with the way this window is going, because I do expect us to bring in another attacker, and it's a potential swap deal with him for Garnacho, and I think that's something that could happen, especially if they pay us the amount that we are looking for Nicholas Jackson. And more on that, Chelsea have put an £80 million valuation on Nicholas Jackson, and Jackson has already rejected Napoli and AC Milan. Villa have asked to be kept informed, and a project like Manchester United could be of interest to him. So you can see what Nicholas Jackson's intentions are, and that is to stay put in England, not necessarily stay put at Chelsea, but he wants to stay domestic in England, play in the Premier League, just potentially move a club. He could stay at Chelsea very well. I wouldn't really doubt that, but he could also move to Villa. He could also move to Manchester United, and Villa say, if there's a possibility of Nicholas Jackson coming to us, then we like to be informed of the conditions of a deal, see if we'd like to explore that, maybe put in a bid or two. If not, then not really do much about it. And Manchester United, we know, have heavy interest on Nicholas Jackson. I think he could be a very good bridge striker for them to get them back to where they need to be. But more on Nicholas Jackson. Chelsea will use Hugo Ekitike's £79 million deal as a benchmark if Nicholas Jackson is to leave. Forget that. We'll talk about that later in this video. And the reason why is that Jackson has a better better scoring and goal involvement record over the past 2 seasons in a higher standard league, which is completely fair. Liverpool just gave Hugo Ekitike £300,000 a week, which is absolutely absurd. Yes, a good player. Yes, scored 20 Bundesliga goals, but I think Nicholas Jackson is similar to Ekitike in terms of profile, so that's why I talked about in the last video potentially Newcastle coming in. Obviously, they lost out on Hugo Ekitike, which I think is a little bit more of an exciting player than Nicholas Jackson, but Nicholas Jackson's proved himself in the Premier League quite a bit. Been a number 9 for Chelsea for 2 years. Obviously going to have really good sale value just by that CV. And he has better scoring and goal involvement record in the past 2 seasons in a higher standard league, so that's why the price tag is that high, which I think is completely fair if you want to compare deals. It's kind of what we did with Madueke and Alanga. We used data to say, hey, they're very similar players, and Madueke excels in these categories while Alanga excels in these categories, so, pay us the amount that we want. And in this case, it's, hey, Nicholas Jackson has done this better than Ekitike, and that's something that you want in a striker, so, pay us the amount we want, which is around £80 million. So, completely fair to Chelsea. I think they've been really good at negotiating for the fees that they wanted this summer, especially for Madueke. So yeah, fair play to them, and if they can get this over the line for Nicholas Jackson, then I think majority of the fan base would be ecstatic about it. On Jackson's replacement, if Jackson was to leave, they may sign another wide player instead of another number 9 because Pedro Neto can play through the middle. So I think what they're saying here is that they see João Pedro as a number 9 now, alongside Liam Delap. So you have those 2 out-and-out number 9s. Obviously, if you really need João Pedro too, he can play the 10, he can play the left wing, but again, if we bring in a Xavi Simons, you have Xavi Simons, Gittins on that left wing, you have Palmer, Esteval, Simons at the 10, Pedro Neto, Esteval on the right-hand side, and then you have Delap and João Pedro up top. So could be another wide player like Alejandro Garnacho who can provide depth to that left wing as well as that right wing position, just so it's not Pedro Neto as well as Esteval, who's also a backup 10. So yeah, you could definitely see us going for a winger if you see Nicholas Jackson leave the club, and I think that's the right way to approach it, because I do think we have 2 very solid 9s in João Pedro and Liam Delap who can both get game time and really excel next season. But moving on to permanent deals, Ishe Samuel Smith, obviously a Cobham Academy boy, is expected to join Strasbourg on a permanent deal this summer. His representatives are currently in talks to agree on personal terms, after which negotiations between the clubs will begin to settle on a transfer fee. I don't expect it to be too much, maybe like £8 million or something like that, but obviously Ishe Samuel Smith is from Cobham. We want him to get game time, but we can't take up more international loan spots, so that's why he's expected to join Strasbourg permanently instead of on a loan. But I do think he does need the game time. Obviously, they have Valentin Barco, who kind of plays midfield for them, but can also play that left back position. And then they also have Diogo Moreira, who can play that left left back position for them. So I don't know how much Ishe Samuel Smith will play, but I do expect him to play a couple of games. So I think, moving to Strasbourg, letting him develop a little bit will be a good deal for him. And he is expected to join them this summer. So, fair enough. Best wishes to Ishe. Get some pure profit on the books, and then maybe buy him back if he excels at Strasbourg, especially if we don't get Hatta, which seems like has gone cold a little bit. Other than that, Fabrizio says that Nkunku, Felix, and Sterling are all leaving Chelsea, which is to be expected. Obviously, they're part of the bomb squad. I didn't expect any of them to stay, besides maybe Nkunku. Nkunku could have stayed just due to his good Club World Cup run, but I think, We just brought his valuation up, and now we're looking to sell him higher than we were before this summer, which completely fair to Chelsea. You still won the competition, and you brought the player's value up, so fair dues to them for that. But yeah, we know Felix and Sterling are leaving Chelsea regardless. Felix most likely going back to Benfica or headed to Saudi Arabia, and Raheem Sterling, I have no idea where he's going to go, but I do hope we find a suitor for him. But that's that on permanent outgoings. We do have one more in Veiga, which we'll talk about in this video, but in terms of loan outgoings, we have Tyreek George, which we talked about earlier, may leave on loan to help his development. I think going to a championship club and building his physicality will be best for him. Again, a club like Coventry, I bring them up last video for Anselmino, but I think Coventry's really good moves for Chelsea players. Obviously, domestic loans had the tie to Frankie Lampard, who's the manager there, who has been really good there, actually. So credit to him for the work he's done at Coventry. Obviously got them to the playoffs, lost to Sunderland, who ended up getting promoted, but I could see Coventry fight for a promotion spot next season. But yeah, Tyreek George may leave on loan to help his development, and I think, a championship loan will be best for him to build his physicality. Other than that, we know this one too. Chelsea and Strasbourg expected to finalize Kendry Páez on a loan deal in the coming days. Penders and Sarr are already done and sealed, so that's 2 out of 3 already done. And Kendry Páez will be the third of the 3 to head off to Strasbourg, our sister club, with the international loan spots that we do have. So you can expect to see Kendry Páez, Penders, and Sarr playing a substantial amount of minutes for Strasbourg in the coming season. And in Europe, which will actually be intriguing because it means that it's easier for Chelsea fans to view. If you have the access to the Champions League, then you have access to the Conference League and all that. So yeah, you can see Kendry Páez playing in Europe as well as Mike Penders and Mamadou Sarr. So good deal, way to get players the development that Chelsea are looking for. Headed out to our sister club, and I expect them to get substantial minutes. On Chelsea's shortlist, Scott Cave says that we are currently looking at Xavi Simons, which we know about. We know Alejandro Garnacho, which we know about. We knew Morgan Rogers, which that it's been long-standing interest. And then Kenyan Yildiz, we heard about this a little bit, not too much. But yeah, really exciting player. I don't expect us to go in for him because I bet Juve are going to demand like 100 million euros for him or something stupid like that. Really good player, really good talent. I'd love him at the club, but I don't see a world where we're able to actually bring him in with the funds. I think that's why we're looking for Xavi Simons and Alejandro Garnacho, because they seem like pretty cheap signings. I think you could get Simons and Garnacho for the price that you could get a Rogers or Yildiz for, so that's definitely why we're looking at those two and looking to go in for those two rather than the bottom 2 on the list in Rogers and Yildiz. But it's a really good short list. I like 3 out of the 4 players there. I don't really like Garnacho. I've voiced that multiple times, but he is growing on me the more I look at him as a systematic fit, but I just don't like the baggage and personality that comes with him. But yeah, 3 out of the 4 players there I'd be absolutely ecstatic with. So yeah, that's our current short list for the attacking options, because we know we want 1 or 2 more attackers, especially if Nkunku or Jackson leaves. And then we have Veiga to Atletico Madrid. This is new news that came out after the video I posted. Renato Veiga has almost agreed personal terms with Atletico Madrid and is keen on the move. We already knew that part, but it depends on the agreement with Chelsea. If a move to Atletico does not work out, other teams are in the mix. Atletico has been in for Veiga for days and have placed them high on their shortlist as revealed. Yeah, so deals moving swiftly. Apparently they've already bid a couple times, says L'Equipe, but I don't know how legitimate that is. I did put that in my last video though. But Renato Veiga, personal terms, doesn't seem to be an issue. He wants to move to Atletico Madrid. I expect him to move to Atletico Madrid. It's just whether or not the clubs can work out the fee. Apparently, it's going to be around 35 million pounds to 40 million pounds. Excuse me. I think it could be 35 plus 5, and I think Chelsea fans will be ecstatic with that. So yeah, it seems like Veiga is pretty much off to Atletico Madrid, which I think is a good deal for all parties involved. Veiga moves to Chelsea for a year, gets the exposure that he needs from Basel, and then heads off to Atletico Madrid to be a starter for them next season, most likely. So, fair enough to him, really bolstered his career in that manner, and fair enough to Chelsea, they make a profit on that. So, good deal for all parties involved. And moving on to Xavi Simons, this is the main talk of the town right now. Florian Plettenberg, after I posted that first video, said, all of this is actually going to be after that video I posted earlier today. All of this came out afterward, and when I tell you there's so much on him, there's way too much on him to come out in 4 hours. I don't even know what's happening, but fair enough. Florian Plettenberg says that further talks between Chelsea and Xavi Simons' camp are taking place this evening. Chelsea are concretely in and are working on reaching a verbal agreement. Leipzig are ready to sell him. Leipzig want at least 70 million all-in euros, while Chelsea want to pay less. If a move to Chelsea does not work out, other teams are waiting in the wings. Basically, this last line is saying that Xavi Simons is giving Chelsea his priority, and that's why other teams are waiting to capitalize on. If Xavi Simons does not go to Chelsea, then that's when they'll capitalize, which basically means Chelsea are at the forefront. They're the team that's concretely in. That's the team that's working for a verbal agreement from Xavi Simons' camp, as well as working to agree with Leipzig. And we figure that out when Fabrizio says this, that Xavi Simons has opened doors to Chelsea move after direct contacts with this camp. Club-to-club talks will start Tuesday as Chelsea Leipzig will discuss deal conditions. For Chelsea, deal depends on outgoings. Arsenal remain also keen, but Gyökeres in outgoings priority. We know Bayern Munich are in too, but Arsenal were the other Premier League club interested, and I think that's why Fabrizio highlighted it, because Xavi Simons does want to move to the Premier League at the end of the day. For our deal, it depends on outgoings, but we can expect Veiga to go. We can expect Nicholas Jackson to go. We can expect Nkunku, Felix, and Sterling to all go. So I think, we're anticipating that and giving us the financial flexibility to, capitalize on this deal when it's pretty cheap. 70 million euros is around 60 million pounds, but we'll talk about that price tag later in this video as well. But yeah, club talks will start tomorrow, which I think is pretty exciting. We can maybe anticipate a here we go in the coming days. And he has opened the doors to us. Furthermore, Matt Law says that Xavi Simons keen on Chelsea move after club make check on Red Bull Leipzig star, along with other attackers. Bid may be dependent on outgoings, not for sure set on outgoings. It's not like we're gonna reinvest the money we make on outgoings to Xavi Simons. We're just gonna go in for Xavi Simons, then sell and maybe balance the books, or we may get some outgoings prior to that, and then it looks like a reinvestment. But either way, I'm pretty sure we have money stashed aside for Xavi Simons to go in for him. And Matt Law says in his article, Arsenal are believed to have registered an interest in Xavi Simons, but it is Chelsea who are currently rated the most attractive of the English options. So yeah, he pretty much says he wants Chelsea. He wants to come here over Arsenal. Wants to become a blue, which I completely agree with. I love the player. I love the positions he can take up for us next season. I think he'll really excel in Maresca's system, especially with this versatile attack we're looking forward to. And if you go watch my video, I actually show how Xavi Simons will fit in the team next season. It's my video talking about how Chelsea may actually win the Premier League, using a tactical board to show what Xavi Simons is actually capable of doing for Chelsea. So yeah, I'm glad he rates us as the most attractive option. And I'm glad to see us actually going in for Xavi Simons. And then Ben Jacobs comes out with Chelsea proceeding with Xavi Simons talks this week with a deal possible for 70 million euros or under. Leipzig paid 50 million euros fixed, but not all the 30 million euros in add-ons have been paid, allowing for a cheaper package as revealed. PSG retain a sell-on. Arsenal are also keen on Simons, but Chelsea make first club-to-club contact. So yeah, it seems like we're really in for Simons. We're really trying to progress this deal pretty quickly. I completely agree. Again, I love the player. I'd be so excited for him to come through the door. I might actually buy his jersey if we come out with that third kit and it's the black and blue kit and we get Xavi Simons through the door. I'm probably buying that immediately with the Club World Cup badge, potentially a new sponsor in Qatar Airways. Oh, I mean, it'll look so good. Yeah, that might be something that I end up actually doing. But yeah, Arsenal are keen on him, but Chelsea, again, trying to advance the deal very quickly, which I completely agree with because I do love the player and I think he'd really excel in the system that we're trying to create. More on Xavi Simons. Bobby Vincent says that Chelsea opened talks with the Xavi Simons representatives, with who we know is Ali Barat, over move to Stamford Bridge. Blues have long been admirers of the 22-year-old attacker who is keen on the move. The negotiations are being handled again by Ali Barat, who was instrumental in Nani Madueke's move to Arsenal. Follows Florian Plettenberg, who's been really on top of this saga, along with Simon Phillips. So I got to give them their credit. But yeah, maybe Ali Barat does a favor for Arsenal. He does a favor for us now and brings Xavi Simons through the door. I absolutely love the player. I can't talk about it enough. I'd be so excited for him to come through the door. I know most of y'all probably don't watch the Bundesliga, but here in America, the Bundesliga is always on after the Premier League, so pretty easy access to watch. It's on ESPN Plus. I always just turn it on. And I end up watching Borussia Dortmund most of the time, but just to see the yellow wall. But I do watch Leipzig games. I watch Bayern Munich games. I watch Frankfurt games. I watched Leverkusen games. I'm not going to watch them anymore because obviously Xabi Alonso's not there, as well as Florian Wirtz, who I absolutely love as well. But yeah, I love watching Xavi Simons. Really, really exciting player on the ball. And it seems like negotiations are going to be done because Ali Barat is, really good friends with Bedet Ogbali. So, hopefully that ends up going through the door. And more on Xavi Simons. Fabrizio Romano says that Chelsea made contact with Xavi Simons' camp as he's keen on the move. Obviously, gave us his priority. We know he's keen. But Fabrizio Romano reported that on Instagram not too long ago. So, that's why it was included on the video. Because we do make contact. It's confirmed. Florian Plettenberg has been on it again. Credit to him. But, we just continue on. As Xavi Simons is keen on the move. More on him. Fabrizio says that Xavi Simons is Chelsea's next big target in the market. Simons is interested in Chelsea's project. In the next few days, talks between clubs on the price tag. And then the Secret Scout says that Chelsea have brought in consultant agent Ali Barat to assist the recruitment team in the deal for Xavi Simons. He's helped on many deals at Chelsea for the owners. They want this done. Understand 2003-born Xavi prefers to move to the Premier League. Agreeing terms won't be an issue. We already know it was rumored a couple days ago he'd be willing to take a pay cut to move to the Premier League, which, credit to him. I think that shows that, he does actually want Chelsea, because I think he's on around 200, maybe it's 200,000 euros a week. But maybe goes down to 150,000 pounds a week to move to Chelsea, which I completely agree with. I think if you want to move here, you're gonna have to take a wage cut. Obviously, we have a incentive wage driven structure. So if he performs well, he'll get the money he's looking for. But talks to begin between Chelsea and Leipzig to agree on a fee and potential add-ons. I'm really excited for this deal. I think it's something that can progress very quickly and at the end of the day go through, and we can see Xavi Simons play on that left wing, the 10, the false 9, the right wing for us. Anywhere you really want him to play, he's going to be able to play. He can even play on the 8 if you want him box crashing. So, back up to Enzo if we really need to, but obviously we have Andre Santos there. I mean, the squad depth we're going to have next season is incredible. You're going to have João Pedro and Delap up top. You're going to have... We'll put Xavi Simons on the left wing for right now. We'll have Xavi Simons and Gittins on the left. And then you'll have Cole Palmer, Xavi Simons, and Esteval at the cam. You'll have Pedro Neto and Esteval on the right, as well as Cole Palmer. You have Enzo, Caicedo, Lavia, Asugo, Santos. You have James and Gusto. You have Colwill, Chalaba, Towson, Cucurella. So I do think we need Hato, and that'd be the last piece of the puzzle, and maybe a new goalkeeper. But we look absolutely tremendous attacking depth-wise if we do bring Xavi Simons into the team. Can rotate pretty much every single game and be completely fine and just kick on without losing any quality there. Furthermore, Fabrizio said on his YouTube video that Xavi Simons is attracted by the Chelsea project. Chelsea are really pushing. From tomorrow, talks will start between Leipzig and Chelsea to try and understand the valuation. The price is expected to be below 70 to 75 million euros, reports Fabrizio Romano, and that was finalized by CFC Pice, who also quoted it, but just translated the money over, saying that Xavi Simons' fee is expected to be lower than the reports of 60 million pounds, which is an absolute bargain. Obviously, we paid that for João Pedro, but now we're paying even less for Xavi Simons. So fair play to Chelsea if they get this negotiation through the line or over the line for a lower fee than João Pedro, maybe a fee around the Gittins deal. That's just a great bit of business, and our summer window is looking tremendous. Obviously, we brought in Delap, who looks good. We brought in João Pedro, who looks good. We brought in Gittins, who we've yet to see, but seems like an exciting talent. Obviously, we have Esteval, Sugo, Sar, all those youthful players coming in. But in terms of the mainstay guys, the guys that you're paying high fees for, they all look tremendous. So fair play to Chelsea for that. That is pretty much everything. That is all. If we get out of this, we can see 24 slides, which is absolutely insane. And we'll go back to this, but yeah, 24 slides of news that happened in 4 hours. So yeah, some incredible amounts of news that just came out today. If you did enjoy this video, I tried to cover everything. There may actually be a third video today with the amount of news that's coming out. But yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. And more videos will be out soon, because I expect a lot more news to be coming out about Xavi Simons, about Veiga, about Jackson, about Garnacho, about all outgoings potentially on loan too. So yeah, stay tuned, hit the bell, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next one. It's Repulse, and I'm out. Peace.